Jen.
Hello, everyone. It is time for Revolutionary Change. It is Monday night. I'm Jen Perelman.
I'm Peter Hager. And what were you doing back there? Thought you were on screen already.
I was, and then I've been having that problem where I can't see the video. So I left the studio and came back in. And so because I wasn't in when you went to the countdown, it wasn't that same. It just, yeah. But we're here. It's Monday night. How are you?
It is Monday night. It's actually been a pretty productive day, to be honest. I've got a lot done, and I'm always happy when that happens. And obviously, we've got a lot to cover tonight. There's always stuff going on. What's on your mind?
Oh my God. I'm trying to think. I've been lately, it's been dealing with one child going to college and two senior dogs that I'm dealing with. They can't go up and down the stairs on their own and have to eat at different times. And it's just a pain. That's what's been going on for me.
Well, I can't say I have the same problems, so I sympathize.
Yeah, I'm dealing with senior dogs and a soon-to-be empty nest simultaneously. It's an emotional whirlwind.
But that is something that you do want, though.
In terms of what? Aging dogs?
No, empty nest, freedom.
Well, that is, yes. I mean, the goal is to raise productive humans to go be on their own out there in the world. That is what I have strived to do. And I'm feeling good about it. So far, so good. I got one that's completely, off the payroll and one that is just leaving for college. So far, so good.
We will have a clip of Jen on Jamal Thomas's show dropping, I believe, tomorrow or Wednesday. So just be on the lookout for that. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you are subscribed. If you are new, make sure that you share the stream if you can. Obviously, it would be very much appreciated. So unsurprisingly, and I think it's only appropriate to start here, we've been very adamant about the fact that the state of Israel is going to fall. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And the more that we steadily try to bring attention to all the problems that are going on, we realize that they are spiraling to some degree, and we're not really sure what to make of what has happened. The latest rendition of the Freedom Flotilla, I believe this is the third, called the Handala. Actually,
no, it's something like in the 17th. This has been going on. The Freedom Flotilla has existed for a long time. It existed before October 7th of 23. And there have been many attempts over the years to break the siege and get supplies into Gaza. So this is the third one since October 7th. That has tried to get in and not been able to get in.
And they're not going to be able to get in. And anybody who tries is going to suffer the same fate, only it could get worse. And the problem is that I don't think we've had any communication from either Chris Smalls or Jacob Berger or anybody else that has been taken, let's be honest, hostage, because that's what's happened.
Oh, absolutely. These are hostages. They've been kidnapped. Yeah.
This is the last message that was put out there by Jacob Berger.
The last video you see from me for a while. Tonight, we believe that the Zionist entity will come to kidnap us in international waters.
Well, they did posts that went out after, Peter. They did posts that each one of them had a post that was released that was, if you're seeing this, it's we've been kidnapped. We've already been taken. So this is not the last one. Like the last one that we have that we should see from him is the one that would have been from afterwards.
Well, this is from afterwards. This is from after they were kidnapped. These were posts that got dropped purposefully after they were kidnapped.
Okay, because I thought they all made like the exact same post. All right, okay.
Everything has been confiscated.
Illegal siege of Gaza going on since 2007. I want to thank everybody who's been a part of this journey. The fight continues on. No matter what happens to me and the rest of the crew, please promise me you'll continue to fight for Palestine, to fight for the people of Gaza, to end this genocide. Because the world is woken up. Zionism must end. It is truly evil. Zionism is not Judaism. And
that's the point that I think needs to be hammered home harder than anything else.
Yeah.
If you guys see the post that I put out on social media, which we will talk about after this segment, You know, the Zionists walk amongst us. They're here. And the more that the state of Israel is threatened with being dissolved, if you will, the harder they're going to dig in and the harder they're going to push. Now, some of you may have seen, and we may discuss it with CannCon, but Randy Fine apparently went too far with his commentary regarding starving the children, and AIPAC has decided to cut ties with him. Now, do I think they cut ties with him because they share the same or they disagree with his sentiment? No, I think they did it because he's not good for business. I think he's just gone too far. That's definitely good for our friend Clint Russell.
They're just trying to make a point. No. That's just for the optics. It's just optics. They could not care less.
No. Again, the only reason they would cut ties with Fine is if they feel that he is a liability.
Exactly.
That is the only reason. They would not cut him for any other reason. They thought he was great for business, but the fact that you have, and again, we're going to get to it in a minute, but it's imperative that we recognize the key point here that Jacob Berger is putting out, which is what Jen has put out, which is what we've been emphasizing for the longest time, which is Judaism and Zionism are two completely separate entities. And unfortunately, the Zionists are hell-bent on trying to convince people that 95% of Jews agree with Israel, support Israel, and agree with genocide. That is not true.
No.
Why the number is high? Yeah, it's probably higher than 50%, but that doesn't mean it's everybody. And that doesn't mean because the majority agrees with the support of the state of Israel that
No. You might think it's a majority. You mean of white Jews in this country or in Western countries?
No, I'm talking about, well, yeah, exactly.
Okay, because do you know where is the second largest Jewish population in, West Asia outside of Israel?
Probably Iran.
Yes. There's 13 synagogues in Tehran alone. So the point is that there are a lot of Jews in the world that are not necessarily on board with Zionazism.
One can only hope.
I just can't say enough. I'm out and say I lost words. I've tried to make this video 5 or 6 times, but I just want y'all to know that I have no regrets. I'm at peace with our decisions, and I know at the end of the day, we are stronger together, no matter how much and how hard it seems that impossible to get to a free Palestine. I know one day, inshallah, it will be. I love you all very much, and I'll see y'all on the other side. Free Palestine, Jacob Berger out.
Yeah, so I had seen that like the day before that they were boarded. So that I saw, I want to say I saw that on, that he did that on Saturday. Because they were abducted Saturday night. And then another video went out that they all recorded saying, if you're seeing this, it's because we've been kidnapped. And that was the last video that they all put out. But, I don't know what's going to happen to them. I don't think that they will be violated and abused. I don't think so. You've got 7 countries worth of people represented. I just don't think so. But I wouldn't trust that.
No. Why would you even make a statement like that?
Because I don't think, because the first of all, in their mind, these are white people coming to save the less human Palestinians. So to them, they do, and they also know that these are people that are nationals of different countries that they're trying to not hate them all right now. So I don't think it's that simple.
When you think about the way things operate in this country, just remember, this is probably credit to Rogue DNC. This image captures it perfectly. Just remember, it doesn't matter who you vote for.
No.
Voting for the 2 major parties, this is what you're going to get. You may think that it's worse under Trump because he's a very unlikable person. But make no mistake, everything was set in motion under the Biden administration, and without question would have continued under the heavy hand of Kamala Harris if she was president right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Anyone who wants to have revisionist history about how this would have been conducted, the Trump administration has not issued a statement regarding the kidnapped Americans on the Freedom Flotilla.
Yes, Tony D is asking. Yeah, Chris Smalls was kidnapped. Jacob Berger. How many total were on there?
Probably 20, I want to say, something like that.
If somebody knows how many on there, but there were, I want to say there were 7 that are American citizens. There were a handful of like French. There were it was a mixed bag of all different countries. But I want to say there were 7 US on board.
Yeah. You see, this is also why we don't collaborate with Kyle, because this is not the answer. Like,
oh my God, he has fallen so far. Like it's sad for me a little bit, you know, especially when I was just on with Jamarl, who was also one of the original people that I started watching years ago when I started watching Secular Talk. And it's just amazing how far Kyle has gone. Like, yeah.
I mean, do you attribute that all to her? Do you think?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think that's just, it just happened and that's just the way it is. But no, I just think it's unfortunate. And maybe he is getting paid, you know, I don't know.
I mean, I would say that any of the content creators that we have seen out there that have been very Democratic Party adjacent, and we're not just talking about the biggest content creators, we're talking about even ones that one would potentially consider to be, you know, left adjacent, politicos, if you will. But it should come as no surprise that when you look at certain channels and all they talk about is Trump 24/7, and they are put at the top of the algorithm, that is a version of getting paid.
Yeah, no, Kimmy, I know he gets paid to keep that voice. I meant like directly by the Democrats in particular. I know he gets paid for whatever his positions to appease his audience, the clicks and all of that. I just meant like, you know, for all I know, he specifically gets paid by the DNC. I have no idea.
If you guys were to check the content that is out there right now, I got to be honest, I really haven't seen much in terms of coverage of the Handala being sieged. I just haven't. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody in the audience want to tell me that I'm wrong regarding the type of coverage that has been given to Jacob Berger and Chris Smalls? Because I really haven't seen much. Have you, Jen?
No, actually, other than, you know, he went on Piers Morgan. I mean, that was who covered it, was Piers Morgan.
Well,
you know, I mean, wait, somebody said something in here that I thought was in. Victoria says my algorithm always suggests his videos. When that happens to me, I just say not interested and don't suggest again. And that way it'll stop suggesting those if you don't want to watch them. That's what I do when things come up that I don't want to see.
Prime Ray, great to see you, pal. And
Prime time, Ray.
Can't say that that's the type of food that Jen and I are going to eat, but I am sure you will enjoy it quite a bit.
No, but that's actually, I recognize that that's like healthy food for you. I do.
Mike Figueredo is good people. 1,000.
We love Mike Figueredo.
Yeah. Mikey's he's a good guy. He just is. Yes. And he earned that audience. And he, unlike a lot of other people, also helps smaller content creators get their opportunity. He did that for us when we started. That is a real loyal person.
He doesn't have ego in it, and he has no problem like sharing spotlight and helping other. He's really, he's easy to work with.
I think, Irene, this is kind of what's going around right now, and this is what's as deeply concerning about this story, is that it doesn't seem that it's getting the necessary attention, and maybe the word is going out that they're really not supposed to talk about it. Because if this becomes an international incident, could you even imagine if there has to be some type of a negotiation to get actual Americans back? You know, we've been listening for 2 years, bring the hostages home. Yet, of course, basically all of them supposedly that are in, under Hamas's control. These are Israelis. These are not Americans. And we have a situation, an international incident here, where actual Americans are kidnapped. And they are kidnapped by Israel. I don't know about you, but I would say let's bring them home.
Well, but we never addressed the American citizens that were executed by Israel. There have been a handful of those that we know about.
We saw what Medea did confronting Debbie. A guy's murdered from South Florida, and gives a shit.
Right.
He ain't one of ours.
So if we're not going to do anything for citizens of ours that get killed there, why do you think we're going to do anything to care about our citizens that are held hostage here? The only thing that I think is helpful is that I do believe other countries will care about their people more so than our country cares about us. And because of that, this variety of other countries, they very well might have people working behind the scenes and trying to figure stuff out for them. Our people don't give a crap.
No.
So, I think somebody from Colombia, there was, I don't remember, but it was like a bunch of different countries.
Well, it's very international as well, but there are several Americans that are on board that flotilla. And as I said, this is the.
I love that. That's truth right there.
Yeah, it's a good line. It's true. And it is.
Yes, Rachel Corrie, exactly. Rachel Corrie, the girl of the Egyptian girl. Was she Egyptian or Turkish? No, the one who was just recently, the young girl that was there after college, that was killed there. Then there's the journalist. They've killed several within our recent memory. American citizens have been killed there, and there has been zero accountability. But yet, we're supposed to believe that these people are so concerned with our safety, which is why we have to have such a strong border to protect our safety from the immigrants, when that's not where our people are getting hurt.
No. Colin,
I don't think they're concerned with our safety.
Colin, please pull up the Jason Haber message, please.
Turkish. She was Turkish.
Yeah.
I know. I can picture her in my head. Long dark hair. She was lovely. She was like 21 years. She just graduated from school.
We're going to get into this story now, guys, because this has been something that has been on my mind for the entire day, even though I've tried not to think about it. So for those of you who have been following our channel for a long time, and hopefully there are a number of you that have been here, Sable Miner, Brett Boyle, Henry Kajawa, Public Domain off the top of my head. I know you guys have been here with us during the earlier stages when our show was a lot smaller. A few years ago, we had a guest on from South Florida who's a very successful, put it that way, real estate investor named Jason Haber. Now, he came on the podcast because he had some thoughts about how to help deal with the housing crisis in South Florida.
I don't remember this. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Okay.
I do.
Okay. Well, we've been doing this show for almost 5 years, twice a week.
True.
I've forgotten some episodes.
So he was on, I want to say, about 3 years ago. So it's been a little while. He and I communicated on the regular, but then the communication kind of ceased. And then, of course, it didn't pop up over a year ago when Jen was running for Congress, even though this guy clearly could have helped Jen in a big way. And you want to know why he didn't help Jen? This is why. He made this post on social media this morning. This is Sag Harbor, New York, which is the North Shore of Long Island, a very wealthy community. And he was out this weekend at a pro-Israel rally. And as I have said before, you wave that motherfucking flag spliced with the American flag, you're anti-American as far as I'm concerned.
Wait. Is this guy from, I thought he was down here.
He splits his time. He splits his time between South Florida and Long Island.
Like
right,
I understand he summers in the Hamptons.
Of course.
So whatever. And this is the guy that you were friendly with about real estate, but you noticed that stopped. Well, you weren't. It's not like you were talking to him anyway regularly. He didn't purposefully stop talking to you because of Ziohel.
Well, of course. And I would imagine that once he clued into the fact that you were not on their team.
That's why he didn't show up.
Oh, this guy's a supporter of the Democratic Party. Like, I know that he is. And I have seen him on, I will tell you another thing that is very interesting about this guy. And maybe I can grab the clip. I'm not even gonna, we'll talk, but it just kind of came to mind all of a sudden. He has very strong.
Is that a thing? It might be, Brett Boyle. Like, that very well could be. Because there's codes about displaying flag.
Yeah, I would definitely say that that's true.
And you guys know I'm not a flag person. All of it is silliness to me. So I couldn't care less. But in terms of that they're not serving the people here, that's the problem. I don't care about their silly flag.
Yeah, but you
also why would we take issue with Randy Fine? Why would we drop him from AIPAC? But why wouldn't we drop someone like Brian Mast, who was clearly cheering for the death of children after the genocide started?
Yeah. No,
why Randy Fine? What was so across the line? Cheering for death of children is not sufficient.
Well, I think that, Randy is just so bold in his genocidal supremacist attitude. I mean, he doesn't hide the fact that he's a bloodthirsty psychopath. Like, he really does. I'm not saying that Brian Mast hides it either. I just think Brian
wore an IOF uniform to Congress. That's pretty bloodthirsty.
But I would definitely say that Randy is somebody who he's got itchy trigger fingers. Like, he gleefully talks about people and how much he wants to kill them, how much he hates Palestinians, how much he wants them all dead. If you don't release the hostages, we have to kill everybody. I mean, he says that all the time. Starving people, let's starve them. Release the
this guy holding that double flag is the guy that we had on the show?
That's correct.
Okay. I don't remember the show. I guess he wasn't very memorable.
No, I wouldn't say he was very memorable, but
also it sounds like something it sounds like a subject matter where I was sitting here but zoned out. There have been some subjects where I'm like zoned out, where you're talking blah, 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 business, small business, blah, 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 real estate, commercial, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, that's so boring to me.
One of the big problems that I have to face on a regular basis is knowing that I have to ignore certain names now, because the second I am clued into the fact that they're Jewish, I have to look them up to see if they support Israel. And if I catch that they do, that's the end of the conversation.
Yeah, but then okay, and that's good, because at least with Jewish surnames, you could at least think to check. But don't forget, Christian Zios are all amongst us too, and that doesn't necessarily advertise the same way.
That is true as well. And so I don't want you guys to think that this is just, let's point the finger at one Zio that's out there. They all walk among us. But there's another part of this story. Jason decided to share his thoughts about Zohran Mamdani winning the New York City mayoral election.
Oh, of course he did.
And he's got some very interesting thoughts that these Fox New York co-hosts really enjoyed his thoughts.
Mayor credit, the City of Yes was a really bold initiative that allowed us to build more housing going forward in the future. I think we need more City of Yes and less City of Socialism. And I really hope that the focus now is how we can build more housing, because if we increase supply, we can bring rents down.
Well, freezing
this guy
rents
was on
might
our
not.
show?
Yes.
I do. Are you sure I was there?
Yes.
Okay. I honestly, guys, if anyone else out there remembers, please let me know. Like, if any of you remember, let me know if you remember. No, that's not why. It just doesn't. He seems like such a wiener.
Remember, socialism is what's going to crush New York, guys. Like, that's the real problem.
Right.
That's what's really going on.
So for the completely unfettered capitalism has been really doing it justice thus far.
You have a guy sitting there in probably a $3,000-$4,000 suit. Lord knows how much his watch is. Again, he wears it on his sleeve. There are people are so fucking classist. Like, they don't get why people hate their guts. Like, they don't get it. That's the problem. I've always said, maybe the biggest problem with capitalism is that the people who succeed in capitalism Oh, okay, wonderful. That's great to hear about Jacob.
This guy's so douchey.
Anyway, as I was saying, the biggest problem with these types of capitalists is that because they've succeeded in the capitalist world, they automatically see it as a character flaw if you don't succeed the way that they do. You saw the post that went on social media today saying that Elon Musk has over 400 billion to his name now. And there are a lot of conservatives coming out and saying, all right, look, this is insane. Like, there is no balance here. And you still have people sucking off Elon saying he earned it. Oh, he earned it, all right. By screwing workers. That's how you do it. And he's done it in a big way. And on top of everything else, you know, you all claim to be in favor of the free market. There is no free market. He has, like a handful of others, have monopolized the market when it comes to anything related to, I don't know, space, you know, Tesla, you name it. He's getting the government contracts. You think that that just happens by accident? No. Of course not. And it's the same thing with anybody who is high up on the hog, like Jason is, in the real estate world. You have a huge advantage over everybody else. And so when somebody like Zohran wins the mayoral nomination and is now a main fixture in New York City politics, his first response is, oh, we don't need more socialism. That's not going to solve the problem. It doesn't solve the problem for people like you. People like you are way ahead of everybody else. But everybody else is not going to catch up to you in this current system. The current system is designed so that only a few people can actually get to enjoy it. Dan Bilzerian? No. Dan Bilzerian is not going to be invited on this podcast.
I didn't say it. I just put it out there.
Well, Dan Bilzerian doesn't like Jews. Like, he's pretty clear about that.
In what way? And I'm not sure. Are we talking about the guy that was on with Rogan?
No, Dan Bilzerian has made it very clear that he does not really see a separation between Zionism and Judaism. And so that doesn't help the cause. That just makes anti-Semitism more rampant. He's not helping. And I think and I just don't like the guy. I mean, if anybody knows anything about Dan Bilzerian, it's not, you know, he's not somebody that I would be looking to as a voice that is really, you know, the type of person that should be leading any efforts. Just my opinion.
I don't know who it is anyhow. I know the name, but I don't know who that is.
We'll continue.
Increase supply, which we can talk about that.
That's a whole other conversation I'd love to have with you too.
Absolutely. Yeah. More than 3 minutes. We'll definitely get into it. Jason, always appreciate you being here and explaining it to us.
Thank you.
Yeah, they sure knew the topic, let me tell you.
That guy's not very memorable. I honestly, you know, yeah.
But could you imagine being out there with that flag, still on board with this after all this time?
When was that picture? How long ago was that?
I just told you. Have you not been listening at all? Come on. It was this weekend.
Oh, this weekend.
I mean, how absolutely tone deaf can somebody possibly be? Like, at what point does it become?
He had friends. Look, there was a bunch of them up there in their little haven, in their little Zion Nazi haven.
This is still, without question, a class issue. Those that have the money have been able to make the rules, and there is undue influence, especially in real estate. The Tiger King. Tiger King's in a lot of trouble. I don't know if he's going to be going on.
Now you guys are just being silly.
I think they just like to pick on us because I think our channel's gotten bigger now. All of a sudden,
now everyone's got an opinion. Everyone's a producer now. No. In all seriousness, guys, we do like recommendations, and if you do know someone that you think would be good, you could also send an email to admin@revolutionarychangenow.com.
And one more person that I do want to put up who I thought was very interesting. Now, I don't know if you guys know who Will Chamberlain is.
I know who Will Chamberlain is.
Will, not Wilt.
Oh, I got excited for a second. I thought we were going to talk of sporty games.
No.
Okay.
There is no more ridiculous spectacle than right-wing accounts whining about the plight of the Palestinians. I mean, to even put out a statement like that, whining about the plight of the Palestinians. So this guy is...
I think I prefer Wilt Chamberlain.
I think most...
Who is this?
He's apparently a very well-known content creator that is also on the board of the Edmund Burke Foundation, which is about getting right-wing judges on the bench throughout the country. So that's his...
Whatever. So, yeah, again, I thought my idea was better. Okay, continue.
Well, I said that he's an Israel first traitor, and most people agreed. And he responds with, you literally have Palestinian colors in your bio.
Yes, so, that was the whole point. Thank you for catching that. We did that on purpose. I'm so glad that got picked up.
I mean, that's your comeback. That's what you say. Your comeback is you have Palestine. What the fuck does that mean?
Well, I'm glad that our new logo is resonating exactly how I wanted to. That's what I got. It was sort of like we had our own little, he was like a mini focus group, if you will. Thank you.
Ross, I apologize. For some reason, I thought Sag Harbor was on the North Shore.
I said summering in the Hamptons.
You did say it. I was wrong. I just said I was wrong. I can admit when I'm wrong.
There's only one place that douche canoes like that hang out, right? Yeah.
I guess. If they're that
this time of year, yes.
Yes. I am proud to support Israel.
So yes, Will, yeah. Let's talk about Wilt Chamberlain. That was better.
Shaquille O'Neal doesn't think Wilt Chamberlain was one of the greatest centers of all time. Rest assured, if it's Shaq in his prime and Wilt in his prime, I'm taking Wilt Chamberlain over Shaq. Just saying.
I'm taking anybody over this douche canoe. But I do love that our
this is much like politics, and I would say to you, honestly, either you're going to do politics or politics is going to do you. And if you think that Israel is not a problem, it will become a problem if it isn't already.
No, it's very primetime, Ray. It's very interconnected with the stuff that we're seeing here with authoritarianism, the militarization, the policing that's going on, the cop cities, the taking away of our freedoms. It's really connected. Palestine is in a lot of ways a laboratory. There's even a really good book by Lowenstein, I cannot remember his first name, called The Palestine Laboratory, I believe. I've read it. It was really good. And anyway, the things that they do there are things that they're testing out to do here. So I assure you it's all connected. The supremacist white colonialization of those people is connected to the subjugation of the people here. It's a class war. So it's all connected. But I do understand that this is like, you know how you must feel, kind of how I felt during the COVID year, where all that's everyone wanted to talk about was COVID. And I was so bored of it. I was so sick of the COVID year. But here's the thing, until further notice, we're on the Palestine situation. Until further notice. You know
until Palestine is free.
Yes.
This is where we will be.
I'll let you know when we're ready to move on.
If you are so inclined, please go to patreon.com/revolutionary change. For as little as $5 a month, you could become a supporter of our small but mighty and growing channel. We always appreciate all of you being here. And of course, we want to run the names and let everybody know. We're working on some upcoming guests. Thursday, we may be having another Palestinian artist join us.
We need to start a collective, like a Palestinian art. Actually, there are some good ones, so I shouldn't say that jokingly, because there are actually really good. The one I got this from is good.
And
we're having quite a collection of Palestinian artists we're getting.
Sure. We're looking to have Janine Yonis come back on. She's always been a great conversation out of DC. She has a podcasting partner named Mel, who goes by Village Crazy Lady. She has a huge account on social media. So she will likely be joining us as well. That is possibly for Thursday. The only problem is that the Palestinian artist, I do believe, is in London, I want to say.
That's complicated. That doesn't necessarily...
What we're going to do as far as like time is concerned. But obviously, you know, we would like to have them on. I don't think that they're in Palestine. And then Rachel was in communication with them. So we'll be able to find out exactly what their deal is. But certainly,
well, London is 5 hours.
Well, that's more manageable, yes. And if necessary, we would have her come on at the start of the show, if that'll make it easier. I don't think there's anything. I don't think you would object to that. I know normally we go our first hour, and then we bring on a guest. No, son, I'm the co-pilot. Hey, you try lugging Lanier and Walton up the court for 48 minutes. That was a great one.
There it is. Thank you, Anthony Lowenstein. Thank you. That's the name of the author. It's a very good book. Highly recommend. Palestine Laboratory.
Palestine Laboratory.
It's the interconnectedness of like the order and the policing and the militarization and the like complete infringement on people, and it is all connected. But yeah, Palestine's the laboratory for a lot of the horrendous things that come to others afterwards. They test them on Palestinians first.
Not surprising. What should be less surprising is this clip that Jen sent me a little while ago, and I am happy to say that the rest of the world is hip to the bullshit that we have to deal with on a regular basis. And this is an example of just that.
So this is in Italy. Napoli.
Just kind of glances right at it. But I mean, if that image doesn't tell you what's really going on, I don't know what does.
It's really kind of eerie, isn't it? So if anybody's listening, it's somebody tore a poster of Alex in half, and it's Alexandria Genocide Cortez instead of Ocasio, and it's got the face of a totally suffering Palestinian child on the other side. It's horrible.
And it's got to make you wonder, how much longer does she think she's going to be able to continue, pretending like she is somehow going to be the leader of the Democratic Party?
Well, she is, but it's going to be a leader of nothingness. That's the whole thing. She is going to be that. It just will be completely irrelevant, which is that's sort of why it's somewhat entertaining to me, because like being the queen of nothing is not impressive. So you're right. She is going to get to that, and then they will die and go away, and she'll be in like she'll be one of the last generation people in Congress from their party.
No, I don't think that she can come back, P. Brandon Watt. I don't think there is any. No, once you've sealed your fate at this level, there's no redemption.
Because who is she coming back to? It's sort of like Bernie in a sense. All you're going to do is maybe some of the people that weren't quite comfortable with you yet are now comfortable with you, but all the people that supported you are all gone and not coming back. So that's the problem. I don't know anyone really who still supports Alex that originally did.
Yeah. I mean, there are people that probably are still hanging on because they think that, they still buy into this narrative that, well, she's just playing the game. She's a
tool. She's a fraud, and she's a tool and a grifter. She's not playing a game. Well, no, she's playing a game, but she's not like doing it to just ultimately do the right thing. That's not happening. That ship sailed. She's full of shit. She's a grifter. She's about herself and her career. She has proven that repeatedly. When people show you who they are, believe them. The sooner you believe them, the less time you waste.
I think it's also imperative that people realize that she is going to continue, much like Jasmine Crockett in particular, are going to continue to try and maneuver their way into positions of authority. And by doing so, they are convinced that they will eventually get enough support where they can take real power. And maybe they will. I'm not saying that that's not possible, but we have to be realistic here about what's really going on. They are keeping their mouth shut because they think it's politically advantageous to do so. But when somebody like Angus King, of all people, that independent senator from Maine, he comes out and he makes a statement effectively saying, I will not support any aid packages whatsoever to Israel. That to me says it all. You've got a guy like Angus King, who is an institutional lifetime Politico. Colin, not that one, please. The one with Angus King. I mean, this is insane. Senator Angus King to oppose any support for Israel amid Gaza crisis. How do you get a guy like this to say that?
Well, he's an independent, for one. Who does he normally caucus with? I really don't know anything about.
Normally caucus. Okay.
So I don't know anything about this guy, but it's what has he been voting for thus far? Like, has he supported every other thing?
And leave it to Colanello, who has been with us forever, to come on here and say it was a stupid performative vote and now she's a fraud. Y'all desperate to trash one of the leftmost congressperson. I understand what you're trying to say, but let me assure you that that's not the case. And here's the thing. You are now turning into the very people that you think you oppose. What, you want to have Trump elected? Get on board, vote blue no matter who.
I'm not sure what she's a fraud because she's always been a fraud. We just didn't realize it to the extent that we do, but her entire persona was made up. We know people that participated in that when she was a created entity by the Justice Democrats. I'm telling you, she's like the Spice Girls of politics. But that aside, she has shown over and over again that she stands for nothing.
And the problem that Colanello and so many other people have is they don't understand. It's not that we think AOC is evil. It's that we know she's a coward. That's it. This is a career, and that is what comes first. And that means I am not going to put you. Imagine if somebody like Alex was a real leader, a real movement leader. Could you imagine if she got on a freedom flotilla?
Well, I was saying on Punch Up last night, I put it in the chat. I think that if Shama Sawant was in there, I bet you she would do something like that.
She probably would.
And whether or not it would get what kind of response it would get, I don't know. The problem with Alex is that she's not really a progressive. She doesn't really stand for anything. She was just sort of, I don't know, right place, right time, right face. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, again, she's Latina. She's attractive. She, again, it was a facade. It's not real.
It's not real. And not only that, but here's the thing. Here's what it really comes down to. At the end of the day, she has voted multiple times to send money to the Zio ethno-state. So if you have voted to send money there, that's it. You are what you do with your vote with that. That's who you are. That's your legacy. I mean, there's no justifying it.
And again,
even this guy gets it.
And we have put this out there many a times. Just because we're criticizing Alex doesn't mean we agree with people like Benny Johnson and Alex Stein and Steven Crowder and all these people that grift off of Alex to make money, that go to where she's from in Westchester County, New York, and show that she grew up in an affluent community. Okay, so maybe she was just middle class, but you know what? She grew up comfortably. She did not grow up in the hood. She did not grow up with, I've lived in the hood. She didn't live there. So the whole facade, the whole persona that she's this working class hero, it's not true. And
no, she owned the bar.
Yeah, she's a bar owner in the bar.
Of the bar that she worked in. Exactly. It's a facade. It's a gimmick. She's a gimmick. And it's not going well, and people need to realize it and now accept that that's just where we are. But yeah, AOC Pelosi.
And that's what I wish Colanello would understand, and anybody else who's here in the audience who still supports her. I'm not telling you that, oh my God, you're so stupid if you still support her. What I am telling you though is that do not ever expect the masses to get behind her. We are entering a new era in politics. This is the dawning of a new era. It's real. MAGA is not going to let Trump get away without releasing the Epstein files. It's not going to happen. It's going to break the whole fucking movement because they know what's behind that wall. There's two things behind it. Elites are child fuckers, and it's facilitated by Israel. And they don't want it to come out. Why? Because there are hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars invested in it. A senator like Angus King, he doesn't give a fuck. He is at the tail end of his career, and he is just there to make a point.
Well, right. That clearly he's not running again. And so it doesn't matter to him that he's willing to finally take a stand. My question would be, where has he been over the past couple of years? Where has he been voting? Has he been supporting it all up till right now?
Correct. That's the point. And the reason, this is the reason, again, this comes full circle into why Randy Fine has been excommunicated from AIPAC. The PR is getting really bad. Really fucking bad. And the fact that you've got hundreds of thousands that are about to die from mass starvation, they are not going to be able to sweep that under the rug. Can't do it. Now, they're going to intercept any flotilla boat that's going to try to bring aid. But this is the crime of the century. This is the biggest crime of the 21st century. And there's plenty of others, don't get me wrong. What we're doing in Yemen, what's going on in Somalia. And
nothing is like this. Nothing is like this. And every person who I have seen talk about this, whether military, Doctors Without Borders, anybody that I have seen who has been to Gaza, whether in a military capacity or in a relief worker capacity, have all said the same thing, that if you added up every other disaster they've ever been in together, it still doesn't come close to what they've seen there. So I can't even fathom. And if this piece of shit has been on board up until now, this doesn't matter what he's saying. It's irrelevant.
I agree. We have got, the only reason I'm even bringing this up is because of the fact that Alex is still stone silent. And that she is now getting called out in Italy, that people in Italy are putting up posters calling her a fraud.
They called her Alexandria Genocide Cortez.
You said from jump, she had the chance to be the Mockingjay.
But she never was. But that was also me with this thought that she was at least who we thought she was. And now I know that none of that was ever really true anyway. Correct. So yes, she was in a position where she could have had that, but she never wanted that. She wanted a nice job. She also never admitted or talked about the fact that she interned for Ted Kennedy.
Zaina and I talked at length back in 2018, not long after she got in there. And we had the conversation where basically she's like, she loves the life. I'm like, yeah, it is a life that very few people can walk into and be able to handle it.
And especially people that are immature, young, inexperienced, whatever. There's a lot of variables, but no, I'm just really over her at this point. Unfortunately, given the demographics, she can be sitting in that seat for an eternity, sort of like Pelosi has been in her seat.
We are moving towards fascist authoritarianism because we have a country that is bought and paid for by corporate special interests, and Israel is at the head of the class.
Yeah.
And if you're not speaking out against it, you are as guilty as anyone who takes that fucking money.
Well, the fascist authoritarianism is what we're talking about. You just don't see the connection of it to how you don't understand it in the same manner in which we're explaining it. It's all connected. The fact that she's supposedly Mick resistance and you're buying into it, and yet still signing over money to commit a genocide, but then playing as if she really gives a shit. How is that helpful? Those are the people that are making it harder and harder for us to get anywhere, not the Republicans. We see who they are. We know we have to deal with them.
And this is why I would say this is another example. It's funny that you can make this comparison, but this is much like what I was talking about with Jimmy Dore the other day. Him and Marjorie Taylor Greene actually have a similar connection, and I'll explain. So there's a lot of people who don't like Jimmy Dore, and understandably so. And I will never forgive him for what he did to Jen.
I just don't want to talk about him anymore. I'm so sick of hearing about him.
The point is that he was right about force the vote. And we stood by his analysis.
But why do you I don't understand why we're talking about this so much now.
We're talking about it now because it's directly related to the same issue with Marjorie Taylor Greene. You don't have to like Marjorie Taylor Greene to know that she was right about a critical issue that we are supporting. And if the reason you don't want to support it is, well, I don't like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Well, you know what? Marjorie is right on that issue. And Alex is wrong. And it doesn't matter if it's red team, blue team.
Well, it does to people, but it does because they believe that their team is not the fascist team. Okay, here's the thing. Empire, the entire empire, we're fascist. We're an oligarchy. We're there. We're in it. We don't have a democratic republic. We don't have anything of by, for the people. We do not have that. We probably never have, but we sure as hell don't have it now. So we're in the fascist oligarchy. We're there. So the question is strategy. How do you deal with it? And to think that people like AOC Pelosi are in some way going to help lead us out of it, that is the worst thing that you could think is going to happen. Because they're leading you right back into it, which is the delayed reaction to everything. You're getting nowhere with that. You know, it's like how many times do you have to see the same thing over and over and over again for people to see this?
Angus King says, my litmus test will be simple. No aid of any kind as long as there are starving children in Gaza due to the action or inaction of the Israeli government. Have you just not been alive this entire time? Have you just been asleep at the wheel? This was declared a genocide in November of 23.
Well, and at a minimum, if you're going to go by the hunger issue, the official all-out blockade siege has been what, like 100 and something days now, or whatever it is, like from the beginning of March.
Crazy. So don't take any victory laps, Mr. King. Thank you for drawing more attention to it. But as you said, Jen, it's too late. Thank you, but no thank you.
Seriously. He already gave them the money that they needed. He already gave them the support they needed. But now when you're about to check out, you want to like leave on a better note. Yeah, go get fucked. Seriously. Like it's just so ridiculous.
Speaking of ridiculous, we don't know all of what's going on in MAGA world, but our guest does, who is one of our favorites, somebody who has served our country proudly and questions everything like we do. And we wouldn't have it any other way. Because sometimes in life, you have to realize that you're not going to agree on everything, but what you will agree on are the basic principles. And those basic principles are espoused by CannCon, who is a friend, and we are thrilled to have him back. And this time, for the first time, Jen, do you have to do this when I'm doing my introduction? We'll grab it and we'll grab that in a second, I promise. CannCon, welcome back for the first time to Revolutionary Change.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's good to see you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I just saw, apparently there was just a shooting out. There we go.
Oh, no.
Just now, shooting in Manhattan at Blackstone headquarters. Police officer and 2 others were shot.
Brian,
That's
can we just get right into it? I mean, we are seeing the collapse of American empire. Like, it just seems too obvious at this point that we're getting to this point because the powers that be simply refuse to relent in any way. And so the fact that there is a shooting in front of BlackRock's headquarters in New York City, should that really come as a surprise? I mean, Jen, you've been saying for the longest time, I'm surprised this stuff doesn't happen more often.
I've been saying that for years. I've been waiting for it to get more. How can you be the country that has the amount of firearms and weapons that we have this many people desperate, unable to make ends meet, and not expect things to get violent, right? Like that's always sort of been my theory.
Yeah, I wonder if I'm just hearing about this, so I wonder if the BlackRock thing is deliberate, you know, similar to the Mangione thing with United Healthcare. If this was a statement somebody was making, I'll have to check that out when I finish up.
Now they're arguing as to Blackstone versus BlackRock. It's one of the blacks. And quite honestly, it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's BlackRock. But remember, we have talked at length, and I said, we may have even discussed this the last time you were on the program, which I believe was prior to the election. And at the time, I said, there's a lot of things to disagree with RFK on, but he is right about two critical issues in our society. One, our food is poisoned. There is no question about it. And number two, private equity led by BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard completely own our economy. That is the entity, if you will, like out of Mission Impossible, that controls our government and controls the world. And so if somebody is going to go after, guys, if it's Blackstone, if it's BlackRock, I don't give a shit. It's the two are the same as far as I'm concerned.
I love that. Fighting over that.
Yes. Point being is that Blackstone is a real estate conglomerate that basically owns everything, especially in the multifamily space. The bigger properties, the price gouging, the inability to afford rent, that all stems from private equity. Because for them, it doesn't really matter. It's the same thing with Grant Cardone down in Miami. He's backed up by Blackstone, which is why he's able to do the things that he does without any consequence. So how do you see things kind of unfolding on the domestic side now that it appears that things are really getting dicey, where people are going up to executives in front of Blackstone or BlackRock and deciding to take the law into their own hands?
I mean, obviously the Mangino thing, kicking all that off. Now we have whatever this might be, whether or not this was politically motivated. I mean, this is literally the first I'm hearing about it as I'm jumping on here with you guys. But it doesn't surprise me that people are getting frustrated with a lot of these things. President Trump was with Jerome Powell the other day talking about lowering the interest rate. It's not sustainable to have a 6.5% interest rate when we're coming off of, a decade or so where it was, lingering between 2.5% and 4%. That's people don't understand those 2-3 percentage points. When we came out of the pandemic, I had to refinance my home because we had to do forbearance. We were completely unemployed. And, I got very fortunate and got 2.75% on my refinance, but simply a year later, it's 7%, 7.5%. That's a difference of a mortgage of, $1,600 all the way up to about 27. I think it was $2,700. People can't afford to live like that. So I think a lot of this is coming back on Powell right now. Trump's meeting and his tone with Powell changed after that meeting they had together. So I don't know. Hopefully we see some basis points come off of the rate here in the next couple of days. But I still think widely, I think what President Trump is doing right now domestically with the tariffs, he just negotiated the deal in with the EU. He finalized a deal with Japan, China. June was the first month that's not April in several years that we had a positive deficit, like we had a surplus in tariffs, in income for the country. I'm hoping to see these tariffs come full circle. And I think eventually when we start onshoring more jobs, bringing manufacturing back here, start exporting automobiles to Europe. I mean, think of how huge that's going to be for the Rust Belt when we got all the manufacturing for automobiles back up and going, and we're exporting vehicles for the first time in mass to Europe, something we've historically never done. So why
that is, Brian? I'm not really up to snuff on that point. I totally agree with what you're saying. If tariffs are going to help revitalize, the upper Midwest in particular, when it comes to automobile construction and selling to Europe, my understanding is that it very rarely is ever sold there. Do you know what the deal is as far as that goes?
Yeah. So the reason that historically they're not sold there, first off, they have a lot of restrictions on vehicles, carbs, and everything else like that in terms of emissions and all that. But the biggest thing is the tariffs that they've been levying against the United States historically for a long time. And in addition to those tariffs, they also have a VAT tax on any vehicles that are imported over there. So I don't quote me on this, but I believe the tariffs on American automobiles was around like 30%. And then you tack on top of that, I think it was a 10% VAT tax. That's a 40% tariff. And we were charging them single digits on cars that we were bringing over here. That's why everybody's driving an Audi, a Mercedes-Benz, a Volkswagen, Jaguar, because they were eating our lunch on trade because of the tariffs, and nobody ever gave a damn about it. Meanwhile, President Trump's, the economy he's pushing us in the direction of is more reminiscent of a pre-Federal Reserve, before 1913, going back to the early 1900s, when we were, pretty much had reciprocal tariffs and we were pretty dominant on export.
So you think, so you think we're actually going to bring back like a level of manufacturing that we used to have here, where we can really be competitive in the automobile market? Like, do you really think we'll be able to get to that place here?
I think we will, simply because, well, first off, with doing away with the EV mandate, I think is going to be a significant help. We don't have quite the same influence on battery technology that China has, for example, with the rare earth minerals and everything else that we're just now starting to explore that. President Trump, the Secretary of Defense, the Defense Department, just joined up with the only active rare earth mineral mine. They became the primary shareholder in that. So I'm not a huge fan of nationalizing industry, but it kind of sounds like that's what they're kind of doing with that. And if that's going to make us competitive on the global scale with China in terms of rare earth metals, I think that's a good thing. As far as, being able to step up manufacturing, I'm hoping we'll get there. I don't know if we'll ever get to, kind of the glory days of American industrialism, but I think there's a possibility we could get close to that. And in the meantime, all those benefits on taxes, when we see the Trump tax cuts sticking around a little bit longer, hopefully that's going to help stimulate the economy a little bit as well.
Well, I don't agree on the tax cuts for this reason, because again, you're talking about tax cuts that primarily benefit the uber rich. And that is not something that really benefits society. It came out earlier today that Elon Musk's net worth is over 400 billion now. And again, it's not sustainable. That's the thing that I wish more people understood. I believe in the free market, but we don't have a free market. Like, you can't look at how the system is constructed and say this is fair game. It's not fair game. It's been completely monopolized. So how do we bridge that divide? I know you're very libertarian on economics, but at the same time, you have to know that monopolization has engulfed our policies, and Trump is with them in a lot of ways. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't some good things that he's going to do, much like his first term in certain respects, but we can't ignore that reality. People can't afford to live, man, especially in South Florida.
Yeah.
That's a prime example of that.
Well, so in terms of the tax cuts, and I don't know if maybe you can on the fly pull up a comparison, but they actually are pretty even across the board. In fact, it is the very, very top tier that enjoys, I think it was like a 2% cut over the prior tax rates. But overall, the Trump tax cut significantly benefits the middle lower class more than it does so I'm trying to remember the tax brackets off the top of my head. I know they expand them once you get up around 250,000 to, I think it was 500,000. It broadens that gap a little bit. But if you pull up the side-by-side comparison, it's actually much more beneficial for the middle lower class than it is for the upper class. Now there are cuts at the top. That's you can't deny that. But again, I think that what President Trump is trying to do, right? And he campaigned on this. Remember, he said the word tariffs. That's my favorite word. You guys are going to love the word tariffs. It's going to be such a great word. I think there's a possibility that we get to the point where tax cuts can be even more significantly reduced, because that difference is being made up with these reciprocal tariffs. It's being made up with it's being made up with markets that are open to us: Indonesia, Vietnam. There's a lot of markets. I was covering this morning on my daily show. Howard Lutnick talking about the markets that our beef industry, our farmers are going to have access to that we've never historically had access to. So I think we can. I think there's going to be kind of a come around where we start to transition away from high taxes and move more towards an economy based on reciprocal tariffs.
I'm not opposed to tariffs. I think everyone gets a little. The problem that we have, which is fair, and sorry, but Saul Good is just too good.
Fair enough.
Don't forget that Lutnick was Jeffrey Epstein's neighbor.
Yep.
I think it's very important that people understand that just because you hate Trump doesn't mean there aren't things that might end up being good. Now, that to be fair, it's not who I want. And I do not agree with almost anything that he's doing. And I think that we have to be realistic about where the economy is going right now. I am not convinced that the bill that was passed is actually a good bill. Now, with that said, and we have been very clear about this, the Democrats are not all of a sudden going to wake up and go out there and support single-payer health care or a living wage. If you're so damn concerned about austerity politics, and that's a problem, and we have been adamant about single-payer in particular because it saves $500 billion a year on healthcare costs, and it covers everybody, and it cuts out the bureaucracy. So to me, it's almost like the perfect middle ground between the libertarians and the progressives, that this is a policy most can get behind. Now, of course, we believe in government funded, not government run. I don't want a VA style of help.
I was just about to say.
That's not what we're going for here. We're going for a situation where if you're the best doctor who's in Davie or Southwest Ranches and you can make $1 million a year, I don't have a problem with that. I don't need Aetna. I don't need Cigna. I don't need Blue Cross. They don't do anything. They are a soul suck out of this system, maybe the biggest one that exists. And as a result, that is where we need to come together. The problem is when you do these cuts to Medicaid, it's not like all of a sudden the other side is going to say, you know what, we're tired of seeing those cuts. We're going to support a single payer system. And that'll be the end of it. It's all one big cluster F where they just go through austerity politics because in the end, they really just want to line their pockets. I mean, the guys trade on inside information every freaking day, man. I mean, that's pretty bad. You know, losing faith in the system is also a big problem.
Well, one of the really important things that you touched on earlier was RFK Jr. and the food being poison. And I think that is going to have huge impacts on our health in this country overall. I think that, you know, the poisons that we've been getting is what's keeping us fat, keeping us overweight. It's keeping us fat. It's keeping us overweight. It's keeping us sick. It's keeping us in the hospitals. So I'm not a fan of that. And the single payer system, you know, these pharmacy benefit managers is a huge one that I've been talking a lot about lately. That's driving drug costs like absolutely through the roof. Meanwhile, you know, we just saw the battle in Texas over cannabis and THC. You know, I'm a big proponent of cannabis, and I think we could actually do away with a lot of the ailments that we have from inflammation and other things if we were just allowed to use THC and CBD freely and recreationally as we see fit. I'm with you. I mean, I know that something's got to change. I'm not a huge fan. You guys know this. I'm not a fan of socialized medicine, but at the same time, you know, we can't be paying, you know, $40,000, $50,000 for an MRI that if you go to Mexico, it's $1,500. Or if you go, you know, to Europe, it's $1,200. Well, maybe not Europe because they're socialized over there. You know, but you go down to South American countries, Central American countries, and, you know, stem cells, another one. You know, I was just talking with my dad about this recently because he wanted to do stem cells. And over here, it's like $20,000. He can go to Mexico and get the same exact treatment for $1,000.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what, in my opinion, is why if we had a single payer system, this would eliminate all of this bullshit. And everyone knows it because in the end, we have a for-profit system that's traded on Wall Street. If you have that and you have private, who do you think is the biggest investor, the biggest shareholder in private insurance and big pharma?
Probably the federal government.
I know the knee-jerk reaction is to go in that direction, but it's not. It's private equity led by the very entities that we have just discussed. And I'm about to show you guys the image, Colin, if you have it, the image of the person who decided to walk up to the building. I don't know, but it looks like he knows exactly what's about to happen when he walks in. And I believe, guys, it is Blackstone, right? That is the building. It's not BlackRock, it's Blackstone.
This is who they're saying just shot.
This is who did it.
All right.
So this is so this man just went into the Blackstone headquarters in New York City and opened fire. Apparently he got 6 people. Did he kill them all? I don't know. He was killed. This is the report. We'll listen to it now. It's from CNN. We'll see what they have to say. But this is the person who decided to commit murder, mass murder, inside the halls of Blackstone.
Well, we'll probably hear about a manifesto.
They do not know who he is. They know he is a male, possibly white. He's wearing sunglasses. He appears to have a mustache.
Okay.
I have an update here saying that the suspect is dead.
Yes, he is dead. But
Okay.
here's the thing. The suspect.
That's convenient, isn't it? That's convenient.
You know what I hate, Brian, and I'm sure you do too. The suspect is black, but you come out and say he must be white. Why must they make it about that?
I know. Before the bodies are even cold, they're already talking about all the motives.
Hey, how can we use this for political cannon fodder?
Yep. If it bleeds, it leads.
If it bleeds, it leads, brother. Absolutely.
And that picture has been distributed to every police officer in New York City, particularly has been sent to the phones of the search teams inside that building, because whenever they encounter a group of people, the first thing they have to figure out is that individual among these people hiding among victims or pretending to be an office worker? Because one thing you don't want to have happen is to have this kind of cordon where you're trying to evacuate people in groups as you can get them to a safe corridor and have this person slip out with them. So yes, they have the picture and they have distributed it to everybody on the scene.
All right.
Can I just say this guy looks like he's reporting from 1972?
Walter Cronkite.
Like, look at this guy. It's like he's in a space warp.
Well, the whole thing about him looking down at people while he's reporting also, like that's considered a very condescending way of delivering a news story.
Well, I don't think doesn't look like he's somebody who probably usually does the news. It looks like he's an behind the scenes office person. I don't know who that is.
We have one more clip to play. Let's see if this provides any additional information. Bird is not the shooter. Here's what I know. The difference between this man and Luigi Mangione is that he went in fully intending to get killed.
That's not the only difference. There's a lot of differences. This guy walked into a building and started shooting people. That is not the same thing as Luigi Mangione. Luigi Mangione specifically killed one person that he was trying to kill. This guy, from what it sounds like, walked into the building and just started shooting at people. That is not punching up. That is not Mangione monetary theory. That is not the same thing.
It is Blackstone. And I am fairly confident in what Brian said. There will likely be a manifesto of some kind, you would imagine. But this should not come as a surprise.
No, I just really wish people would leave innocence out. And Luigi Mangione even wrote in his writings that he chose to do it how he did it so that no innocent people, that there wouldn't be any innocent lives lost. So that's completely different.
We can only surmise why he did this, but Brian, you would have to think, knowing just how much, again, American empire is on the ropes. You know, Blackstone is one of those companies. I know it. You know it. As somebody who is in commercial real estate and specifically in the multifamily space, Blackstone buys up communities. They price people out of the ability to afford to live. And this is where the lack of government regulation comes into play, where clearly Blackstone is a monopoly in every conceivable way, and no one does anything to stop it. So what ends up happening when things get too dicey? A person ends up deciding that they're going to make a statement, even if it means having their own life taken, if this is how they feel it needs to be done. I'm not saying that there's justification, but we can't ignore the reality of why somebody would do something like this.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely like to see if there was a manifesto, find out about the guy, his political ideologies, anything that, you know, may have radicalized him in any form or fashion. You know, he's in New York City, so, you know, not a huge residential, other than, you know, apartments, condos, and whatnot. It's not like he's living in a suburb, as far as we know. Is there updates on that?
At least 6 people were shot near Park Avenue and East 52nd Street, including an NYPD officer who was later reported dead. The AR-15 armed suspect involved in an active shooter incident in Midtown Manhattan has been found deceased. Cause of death was a gun-inflicted gunshot. Well, obviously, I don't.
He was found deceased. How convenient.
How did he get up to the 33rd floor? This guy is walking.
Well, he was on camera walking. The security camera.
An AR-15.
How could he possibly get up there? Hey, I'm going up. Well, actually, you know what? If security's not there and you say, hey, I'm going to the 33rd floor, like, hey, be my guest. And then
none of that makes any sense to me.
I mean, these elevators have emergency shutdowns and stuff. You got to be
these lobbies. You can't get to the elevator without cards and stuff in these types of buildings. They are highly secure. You walk in, you can't get on an elevator without the proper clearance. You can't just walk into those buildings, just get on an elevator.
Look at that statement from Teresa. And Lee definitely knows a thing or two about this. And if it's true that there is about 27 million homes that are currently empty in this country, keep in mind, if you just go down to Miami, places like Sunny Isles, for example, think about how empty so many of those beachfront buildings are. And Jen, you used to always talk about how Sunny Isles is like the worst example of what you would consider advancement, if you even want to call it that.
Sunny Isles it's disgusting now. It's disgusting. It doesn't resemble anything like a nice beach or anything like that. And the sand, it's all eroded. They have to keep bringing in sand. It's not good. There's too much concrete. You got to stop building in these places. We're not meant to keep living on top of each other like this. People are not meant to live on top of each other.
Now, I've been to these investment conferences, and I will tell you that the thing that these guys think about, especially private equity like Blackstone, is that they go in to buy up these communities, and they don't care if they have to kick, 500 people out of their homes. Like, that doesn't matter to them. What matters is, how do we get the most amount of money for our shareholders, and the people be damned. Was this shooter directly affected by something that Blackstone did? It's possible.
Well, someone put in the chat, maybe it's a former employee.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Access card or something. I mean, Blackstone's got armed security. They have to have armed security.
That's what I would think. I don't understand how somebody walked in there holding a rifle like that.
But this is what you've talked about at length, about how there is a reason why these cop cities are popping up all over the country, because people are getting restless, and this is what's going to end up happening. They're not going to change. That's why I worry about the country just collapsing on itself, because the powers that be know things are bad. And the response to this shooting isn't going to be, well, we really need to think about how we do business going forward. It's more bars, more guards. What else can we do? How big can the moats be built, Jen?
I think they're running out of space. And I've been saying it. It's going to get more and more violent. Every new person that has nothing to lose, every person every day that's created with nothing to lose, which happens all the time. Every day, someone is losing a loved one because they don't have health care, filing bankruptcy because of health care costs, or they can't afford to even live even though they're working 3 jobs. People that get to the breaking point are going to start being increasingly more and more. And the fact that we have firearms, to me, indicates violence. I'm not to me, it just seems logical.
And do not be lost on the symbolism. This is the thing. The CEO of United, that wasn't an accident. Blackstone, that's not an accident. You've been saying for how long now? If you think that that was the last example of Mangione monetary theory, you're nuts. It's going to happen again. And now it did. And perhaps
this is different, though. Again, I have respect for Mangione monetary theory. I have respect for that. I do. There is a vigilanteism to it that is somewhat respectable. Okay. This is not that, barring other information otherwise, but walking in and just starting to shoot random people is not Mangione monetary theory. That's terrorism. See, that's terrorism. Now they're trying to go after Luigi as a terrorist. That's not terrorism. This is terrorism.
Brian, do you think that this was a targeted assassination, or do you think this is just, I'm going into Blackstone, I'm just going to shoot it up?
We don't know.
I would lean more towards them going in and shoot it up. I mean, until we know the victims. I mean, obviously, I don't agree with anybody taking another person's life, regardless of how, distraught you are over what that person may or may not represent. And so while Mangione might, have had a sentiment that is expressed and shared by millions across the country, it still doesn't justify doing that. And what this guy did is, I will agree with Jen that it is significantly worse, because now you're going in and indiscriminately taking people that have nothing to do with it. People, janitors that may have been working there, making $20 an hour, $15 an hour. It's not like they did something targeted and deliberate to go after the CEO. And again, I don't condone that either, but there's still a lot of information we got to get on this before, casting opinions on it.
Yeah. The only similarity is that it's clearly people that have been pushed too far.
Yeah.
And that we will see more and more of that. But yeah, I don't think of it as the same as Luigi.
But as I said, it should not shock anybody. That's the point. We should not be shocked by this. It's sad and it sucks, but at the same time, you can't look at what's going on right now and not think, okay, things are getting really bad. And so I want to transition that into a topic that I believe we've covered, but now it seems to be getting a lot more serious. And that, of course, is as it relates to what's going on with Israel. And are we getting to a point where we are going to be able to sever this stranglehold that the Israel lobby has over our country? I believe that in MAGA world, there is a real divide right now. Maybe generational. I'm not 100% sure, but obviously I would like to hear your thoughts about what's going on right now.
Yeah. Where are you in this? I sort of see this split between MAGA and America First. This, in fact, I think I did literally see them making America First hats or whatever that were really annoyed about how Trump's been handling the foreign policy, especially about Israel.
Well, I think personally, I think that there is a growing sentiment in MAGA, America First, whatever you want to call it, collectively as a whole, that is catching on to what's been going on for a long time with the Israel lobby in the United States, with AIPAC in the United States, and generally they're pissed off about it. I can tell you right now, and again, these are the voices of MAGA, not the Con Inc. is what I call them, the Con Inc. talking heads that get these blasted out platforms that I believe are just a new form of intelligence community control, the same way they had with Project Mockingbird over the mainstream media. They've realized the transition that's taking place now into podcasting and long form, and I do believe firmly that there's several of these individuals in the conservative movement that are affiliated with that and are going to push the Israel agenda. But I believe that MAGA as a whole is looking at this and starting to be like, yo, what's going on with this between Israel and Gaza? Then you've got the Israel-Iran thing. President Trump came in, and I actually am probably of the minority opinion on this, that I think what Trump did by bombing Iran was actually beneficial to stopping Israel from continuing to push that war narrative with Iran. I think President Trump went in there, did what he had to do. I don't even know if it was as effective as it's being said that it was. If you go back to 2018, President Trump, when he was on the campaign trail, he let something out that when Iran bombed the when Israel bombed the embassy in Damascus, they came out and said that Khamenei reached out to President Trump and told him, we have to strike back. We have to show that we have strength. Don't freak out over this. It's going to happen. And they shot, 17 or 18 missiles at a base in Iraq, and none of them hit. It was just like, President Trump was told. But that's kind of the balance that they had to show right there. And I think what we saw take place in the 12-day war, the 3-day war, whatever the hell you want to call it, was very similar in that, the first person that President Trump used to confirm that the targets were actually destroyed was Israel. And so Trump took that, the nuclear, Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. They took that off the table. That was no longer justification that Netanyahu could use to go after Iran. This is something every time you see. So you guys, I'm sure, are familiar with Netanyahu's his bribery scheme that's going on, right? The charges that he's facing.
Of course.
Every time he's supposed to go to court, he either calls in sick. He calls in sick to get the hearing moved. Whenever he's facing a vote of no confidence in the Knesset, what happens? He hits Iran. He goes after Gaza. He goes after the Druze in Syria. He attacks Syria. So I think there's more going on behind the scenes, and this is just my take on it. And I don't think that Trump is as staunch an Israel ally as people would like to believe. That's just my take.
Transactional. That's
I think he's transactional. I think at the end of the day, though, he might not necessarily be as pro-Israel, but he certainly doesn't give a crap about the Palestinians. No. So for me, the end result is a Holocaust and him making casinos on beachfront property, regardless, and making money. Again, he's very transactional.
But they're going to be big, beautiful casinos. Believe me, they will be.
I do agree that a lot of what went down in that quote unquote 12-day war, the big, beautiful war, that a lot of that was performative and very proportionate and done in a very specific way. So as to, I agree. I think that there was certain move there that had to be made. And while a lot of the people were like, oh, Trump's an idiot, they already moved their uranium. It didn't do anything. It didn't, whatever. A lot of that's true. But he did do what you just said, right? It sort of takes away that excuse that Israel has. Well, we don't need to, we got it. We already took care of that. So, you're good. And so it really does put the onus on them. Plus, they were ready for it. Right. Like Iran was ready for that. And we didn't do anything of any substance to their program. And I, of course, am of the mindset that we shouldn't have a say in what another country does or does not do in their own country. Like, I don't see how that's any of our business. I actually think that's absurd that a country that has been around for 3,200 years has to have us say what they can and cannot do. And by the way, they've decided to not have nuclear weapons because they believe it violates the Quran. So there's actually been a fatwa that they would not develop nuclear weapons. And only a year after we left the JCPOA, they waited a whole year abiding by that, even though Trump got out of it. And then and only then did they reconsider their own position about not creating, not further enriching uranium to a certain higher level. Right. Like, so at this point, I wouldn't blame them for doing it. But where do we get off telling them what they can and cannot have? See, that to me is infuriating in and of itself.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Oh, that was the most significant moment of the speech that President Trump gave when he went to Riyadh and spoke, to MBS and the other leaders over there from the Arab nations. And I think he was talking directly about Iran when he said, for too long, U.S. influence has pushed these countries in the direction that we want them to go, rather than just being a trade partner with them and being able to work with them and not influence what takes place. I mean, you guys, I'm sure, are more than familiar with from 1953 on, pretty much in Iran, especially in the late 70s with Brzezinski and Jimmy Carter's CIA and some of the economic hitmen stuff that took place over there in Iran. So I think that we are hopefully moving to a point where we can open up trade deals with Iran. Iran absolutely should be able to have a nuclear infrastructure. for nuclear power. I mean, it's absurd that the United States can tell anybody, no, you can't do that, or any country can tell another country, no, you can't have nuclear power. Everything they've done for 40 years that Iran has done has been within the bounds of the agreement they have with the non-proliferation. Correct. Which, by the way, Israel is not a party to the nuclear non-proliferation.
Exactly.
It's the most absurd thing I could ever imagine, that Israel is telling Iran how to run its shit. Meanwhile, they're not even doing the same. They're not holding themselves to that same standard.
No, because, well, they're not supposed to have nuclear weapons, and they do.
Yep. Well, let's play a clip from Green Beret Anthony Aguilar, who apparently is stationed over in Gaza, and this is what he had to say.
After he retired and left, he says, when he saw American colleagues and the IDF killing civilians. The soldier is Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Aguilar, a Special Forces veteran of the U.S. Army's Green Berets. He's in Washington. I spoke to him from a spot just near the Gaza border.
I witnessed the Israeli Defense Forces shooting at the crowds of Palestinians. I witnessed the Israeli Defense Forces firing a main gun tank round from the Markava tank into a crowd of people, destroying a car of civilians that were simply driving away from the site. I witnessed mortar rounds being fired at the crowds of people to keep them controlled.
As a professional soldier with a very long career, what was your professional opinion?
Every time I see that flag, I get physically sick, bro.
Yeah, I'm so disgusted with it too. But this is always very telling when you hear stories. So this guy went over there to work with that, quote unquote, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which we know is a mercenary group, and they're really just killing them. And it's hard to negate these kinds of reports. Did you hear this already, Peter? Because I heard this guy. Have you seen this, Brian?
No, I have not.
Okay.
So,
of what was happening?
My professional opinion of how the sites were established was what I would describe as amateur, inexperienced, untrained, no idea of how to conduct operations of this magnitude. That would be my most benign assessment. In my most frank assessment, I would say that they're criminal. In my entire career, have I never witnessed the level of brutality and use of indiscriminate and unnecessary force against a civilian population, an unarmed, starving population. I've never witnessed that in all of the places I've been deployed to war until I was in Gaza at the hands of the IDF and U.S. contractors.
Based on the knowledge you have, do you think that you were a witness then to war crimes? I think you're saying that very emphatically.
Without question, I witnessed war crimes. I witnessed war crimes being held by the Israeli Defense Forces, without a doubt, using artillery rounds, mortar rounds, firing tank rounds into unarmed civilians is a war crime.
People can resist hunger for a long time, but in the end their strength ebbs away and deaths can rise exponentially, and that is what seems to be happening now in Gaza. Israel insists its forces have not targeted civilians. Now we have eyewitness testimony to add to the considerable evidence that they've done so as a matter of routine. Jeremy Bowen, BBC News, Jerusalem.
So it's just one more testimony of one more person that has been there, and somebody who has seen a lot of horrible stuff in what they do, right? And with the same thing, right? Like, this is, I'm losing my shit.
I'm with you 100%. You know, I've as you guys mentioned, I've been to Afghanistan. I fought in the war over there as an infantry Marine. So, you know, on the front lines. And, you know, I'll tell you what I've seen personally, you know, videos, reports, it's inexcusable what's going on over there. This is not a war at this point. This is one side that has sticks and another side that has rifles and tanks. Have you guys looked at all at the artificial intelligence that Israel is using to pick its airstrike targets? Well,
that's Palantir.
No. This was developed by the IDF. It's called the Gospel, and that's literally what they called it, the Gospel. And the number of targets that they have been able to pick up using this AI targeting system is just unreal. I mean, you're talking, it used to be, I want to say it was either 10 a week or 10 a month that they would be able to, sortie up. But now with this gospel, it's over 100 a day that they're, now, this doesn't mean they're executing on all of them, but the number of targets that are being provided to the Israeli Air Force and the IDF generally, it's crazy, man. Like this, I'm with you guys 100%. I think this is one of the hardest pills out there for anybody in MAGA, for anybody that's America First to get behind, and to kind of change the way of thinking that has been engraved in our minds for so long on the conservative side of the aisle, that Israel somehow is our greatest ally, and that we have to do all, and if you haven't watched the Ted Cruz interview where Tucker Carlson just absolutely wiped the floor with Ted Cruz, made him look retarded. And
not that hard to do, okay, in all fairness, because Ted Cruz is amongst senators, he's the most disliked senator amongst senators.
If you remember the image when Netanyahu came to DC and the AIPAC Senate delegation met with him, and there was 15 senators, give or take, and it was evenly split between Democrats and Republicans, and you had Cory Booker there and Amy Klobuchar, and they didn't all necessarily look too thrilled, but guess who was standing right in front with a big grin on his face? Ted Cruz, wearing the Ron DeSantis lift shoes, I might add. Got to throw that out there as well. Ted Cruz is only about 5'7", so always be aware.
He's so smarmy and ratty and just he's so weaselly. He's so weaselly.
But I do think that that's sort of the evolution of politics that's happening right now. I think it's necessary. I don't know what I did to deserve Charlie Kirk's grace, but he was making a compilation for that sort of Jubilee-like video that he did the other day, where he was interviewing 20 different people. And
Peter's famous now. Peter's famous. He made the Charlie Kirk
Israel and Palestine. He does Cenk Uygur, he does the Hodge twins, and then he does me. And I'm like, me? Wait, you're putting up guys with 1 million+ followers, and then you put our 50,000 subscriber. Hey, I'll take it.
Take it. Because I'm telling you right now, Charlie Kirk is not. He's popular in the conservative movement, but he's not anywhere near as popular as they want them to believe that he is.
Correct.
And his stance that he's taking right here on Israel, you go back, same with Ted Cruz. Did you guys see that Netanyahu is going to be flying? Maybe it's not Netanyahu that's paying for it directly, but they're going to be flying. I think it's a dozen conservative podcasters over to Israel to, tour the Western Wall and get the whole rundown on, why AIPAC is going to make their podcast the best thing in the whole world. And that's how desperate they are.
Dude, it's like those.
Have they approached you? Has anyone made you an offer to go?
Are you kidding me? They will never come anywhere near me. I am me and my colleagues over on the platform we're on are very, very, very much full-blooded America First. And the Netanyahu thing is not it's we don't have too many people on our platform that are pro Israel in this regard.
I still cannot get over the Nelk boys. I didn't even know who the hell they were, but just the audacity of the way they conducted themselves. It's like, don't you ever claim to be America First. Ever.
Destroyed. Go look at their comments. That's what people don't understand. Read the comments. Ignore who said, ignore ratios and all that. Just read the comments. They got fucking annihilated over that.
Yes, they should. And that's the same. And you know what, dude? It's the same thing with AOC because of the moves that she's been making. And the thing about a lot of these content creators, as you know, they are. It really makes you wonder why they do this for a living. They are so thin-skinned when people start calling them out, and they have these conniption fits. Like, I will have you know that I did so and so, and I'm thinking, no, you're just full of shit. And you're getting paid to be full of shit. Just like anybody who supports Turning Point USA, just know that it is funded heavily by the Koch brothers. That is an indisputable fact. They put on a grand spectacle. I've been to their event out in Tampa, but do not mistake where that money comes from. and what their intentions are. I'm sure there are a shitload of people that are supporting Israel, not because they give a damn about it, but because it's good for business.
Well, yes.
That's the bottom line.
The question is, does this ultimately split the Republican Party? Because I don't see anything ever happening with the Democrats. I think they're just going to taper away until they die because they're just going. Nobody cares about New Coke. But I do think that there is a potential splinter happening in the Republican Party that could branch the sort of America First anti-war libertarian people away from the neocon, more evangelical Christian Zionist people. And that might be an opportunity for there to be some sort of salvation from a crushing duopoly of corporate warmongering.
Yeah, I've been calling for that for a long time. I am all here for the internal fighting in the Republican Party. You guys both know I'm not a Republican. I am a registered Republican in Florida because of the way our primaries are set up, and I tend to lean more towards conservatives in terms of if the Libertarians had a better showing, but they're too busy fighting amongst themselves to ever get anything accomplished. And Republicans are turning out that way right now as well. So I'm here. Like I've been the guy that I've been the guy that's saying Thomas Massey's right on this. Bro Khanna is right on the Epstein files and some of the other legislation that him and Massey have worked on together. I'm not afraid, and that's the thing. Like part of, at least to me, part of being America First and the revolution that's taking place inside of our country broadly and across all spectrums is we have to start thinking for ourselves, and we have to take ourselves outside of these boxes that we want to be put in, or that they want us to be put in. If you're a Republican, you have to be pro-Israel, you have to be pro-war and pro-foreign policy and American imperialism, and you have to have a strong defense department and all this other shit. Get the fuck out of here. I want them to change the Department of Defense back to the Department of War. Let's call it what it is. We don't need this shit anymore. By the way, did you see President Trump truth that out, by the way? He truthed that out a while back, like a month ago. He truthed out the Department of Defense, and then in parentheses, he put Department of War.
Well, it's at least accurate. This was our problem from the beginning when we had that whole Doge, going through all of our, expenses. But if you don't start with the Pentagon, you're wasting all of our time. That's the problem, is right there. You cutting the things that they cut, sure, whatever. But that's a drop in the bucket compared to where the majority of our waste is.
I'm kind of there. I do agree that it stopped short of the Pentagon and absolutely had to go to the Pentagon. But, and I know you guys are going to hate me for this here. But we got to clean up Medicaid. We got to clean up Social Security. There's just massive issues with both of those. The amount of fraud that's involved in them. One of my a neighbor, I'm not going to say much more than that. He lives in the community that I live in, was just arrested for selling $600 million worth of Obama phones. And he was just arrested for defrauding the government of $128 million, his company.
There's no question that there is substantial levels of fraud that go on in all sectors of this country. But that's also why I'm adamant about single-payer healthcare. Because if you want to kill the bureaucracy, that's the fastest way to do it. You're talking about all of these NGOs, if you will. Think of it this way. Do you know that Planned Parenthood, who, Jen, you've always said that you think that they do good stuff, and I'm not disputing that.
On a federal lobbying policy legislative level, I don't like them. Their clinics save lives.
Sure.
That's a separate issue. That's all.
But I do not back off the fact that I cannot stand Planned Parenthood because they are some of the most ardent opponents to single-payer healthcare, because they know if they had a single-payer healthcare, then that NGO might not be needed anymore. What if we had a universal healthcare system where said,
I understand why they do what they do.
Yes. But that's the point. That's just more of the bureaucracy that doesn't need to exist.
I understand that.
This is what I plead with libertarians about.
But you do realize that in many places, especially in rural places, Planned Parenthood is like how Walmart is, where that's the only game in town for certain types of reproductive care.
Sure.
So and so that's where we are now. Whether we like it or not, that's where we are. And those are vital, vital clinics for so many people. I am telling you, I know people that would not have survived their teenage lives without being able to go to Planned Parenthood.
And again, I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying we need to get to a point where if we're ever going to deal with the bureaucracy in this country, and this is what Clint Russell said when he was on our show recently. If progressives can agree to audit or outright end the Fed, I will make it my mission to fight to get single payer healthcare. I'm like, we need to have more of those conversations where we are bridging the divide and bringing key issues to the table that are important to different elements of the political spectrum, as long as it's not based on corruption. That's the difference. The part of MAGA that you support, Brian, is the honest America First agenda that isn't based on, well, how can I scam this person out of money, like it is for Ben Shapiro, like it is for a whole bunch of these.
What are your thoughts on Ben Shapiro, Brian?
Can't stand him. I've hated Ben Shapiro for years now. Like going back to even before Trump, I never liked him.
He's weaselly too. He's another.
He is fun to watch debate. He is fun to watch debate. The guy can debate. That's, you might not agree with it, but he is fun to watch debate. Other than that, I can't stand him. And he's just gotten like a whiny freaking. Yeah, he's annoying.
Well, unfortunately, and it's not surprising that you can't stand him as much as I can, but I give you the edge because people like Ben Shapiro are the people that send people like you to the front lines for wars that make no sense.
That they would never go participate in a million years.
Because there's a difference between an alpha male who we're talking to and a beta cuck male, which is Ben Shapiro.
I would bet you Ben Shapiro doesn't know how to change his tire.
I would not take that bet.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's exactly. And I'm not saying I'm like good at that kind of stuff because I'm not. But yeah.
Very, very obviously the primary story, the driver, if you will, before we conclude this evening, of course, is this. Ghislaine Maxwell is going to be used as a political pawn of some kind. We don't know for sure how it's going to conclude. But Trump comes out and says he's allowed to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell and he never went to Epstein's Island. Now, again, maybe he's telling the truth. Maybe he isn't. But here's what we know, and we've pointed this out. The Secretary of the Treasury, Howard Lutnick, was Epstein's neighbor, and he was one of Hillary Clinton's biggest financial benefactors and fundraisers when she ran for president against Bernie Sanders. This is a big club and you ain't in it. No, it's a small club and you're not invited. That's the truth.
Just quick correction. I think it's Besant. That's the Treasury Secretary. Lutnick is OMB. I think Lutnick's the OMB. Right?
Maybe.
Scott Besant is the Treasury
I'm
Secretary.
I'm wrong. Do you think Trump has been to the island?
No.
Do you think Trump is harboring people that have?
No. I think Trump is playing a very intricate game right now with this, and he has to be very deliberate in what happens. Somebody said Bruce Vogt is OMB. I'm trying to remember what the heck Lutnick is. But anyways, what President Trump is doing right, and this is just my opinion. He came out and said that the
Secretary of the Commerce. My mistake.
Commerce. There you go. You're close enough. Treasury, Commerce. Same thing, right? More bureaucrats. Let's just get way more bureaucrats. Maybe we could we got Treasury, we got Commerce. Maybe we could have the Treasury of or the Secretary of the Coinage. I don't know. So what I think President Trump is doing right here is I think that these files that are in there, these have been in the government's hands for years and years and years. They've been at the Southern District of New York. Maureen Comey has, after prosecuting the case, has been there. I do believe Trump when he says that these files have been corrupted, that there's potentially stuff that's not true in these files. The thing that I think is really key to all of this is going to be those grand jury transcripts in the Southern District, and I would love to see them in Florida. Obviously, they've ruled on that one and said that they're not going to turn those over. I think Trump is going to appeal. Or the DOJ will appeal. I've read the Rosenberg case that was cited in there about the Rule 6E exemptions for grand juries, because grand juries are very, very secretive, and rightfully so. They should be very, very secretive. However, outside of some of the rules outlined in Rule 6E in the federal code, there's also some exemptions that were granted by the Second Circuit Court in the Rosenberg case. Now, the Rosenbergs were two people that were selling nuclear secrets to the Soviets back in the 50s, late 40s, early 50s, and they ultimately were hung for treason.
Yep.
And it turns out after you got the grand jury transcripts that one of the people that they hung was innocent. And this is something that I don't know the details of what came out. I just read the case itself. I think what President Trump is doing right now is he's trying to make the case that there is a public interest, a historical public interest in these grand jury transcripts coming out. The defendant is dead, allegedly. Epstein's dead. Whether it was suicide, whether he was murdered, or whether he's in WITSEC, whatever the case may be.
Luke is convinced that he's hiding out somewhere in Israel.
I think he's hiding out. I don't think he's dead.
For all we know, he's on his own island.
Yeah, the pictures that Luke is putting up are I mean, I've seen that picture, the overhead shot, looks very much like him on the island. Who else would it be? So what I think President Trump is doing right now is he baited people into, and no offense to you guys, he baited Democrats, the left, into joining the hysteria and the outcry to release these transcripts, so that when they take this, they can say, look, there is a public interest in releasing these. Redact the names. We don't need the co-conspirators. I just want to see the evidence that was presented to this grand jury and be able to cross-examine or cross-reference that evidence with what was presented to Pam Bondi when she took her seat as the Attorney General. Will anything come of that? Maybe, maybe not. President Trump historically was the only witness that worked with plaintiffs in the lawsuits that were being levied against Jeffrey Epstein. There's the famous press conference that was done outside of the courthouse. I think it was in the Gouffre trial, but where, the guy said the only person that agreed to work with us was Donald Trump when I reached out to him. And this was back around 2017 or 2018. There's a lot of shenanigans in this. And I think it's going to get dark for President Trump before it gets bright. But I think when we have that public interest that's on both sides, bipartisan interest in unsealing these transcripts, I think that's going to be the best shot to get those unsealed. And I don't care who's in them, by the way. Like if Trump's in them and there's damning information about President Trump in there, I don't care. I want it all out.
I think most people feel that way. Colin, could you scroll down, please? Ghislaine Maxwell is asking for a pardon, obviously. That text is very small. But the former girlfriend and convicted accomplice of Jeffrey Epstein is asking the U.S. Supreme Court to hear her appeal of her 2021 sex trafficking conviction. And on Monday, today, Maxwell's legal team submitted a filing asking for the Supreme Court to hear her appeal. In the brief, Maxwell's attorneys argue the federal government has an obligation to honor a 2007 non-prosecution agreement made by Epstein that they say should also shield Maxwell from criminal charges. Now, God, they're so fucking vile. They really are. Even more remarkably, the government advances an interpretation of its non-prosecution agreement that flips its plain meaning on its head. Promising not to prosecute somehow meant preserving the right to prosecute. Again, this is all legal eagle shit, Jen, if you're following along. This is not contract interpretation. It's alchemy. So based on that load of nonsense, as far as I can see, you're now playing with real fire here if you allow Maxwell to walk out of federal prison.
But how can she be serving time for trafficking girls to nobody?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question.
So we're supposed to believe that just her and Jeffrey Epstein, the two of them, all themselves, just trafficked all these girls, and there are real victims. We know there's victims. We know there's victims, and they did it just for the two of themselves, and there's nobody else involved in this. So why the hell should she be in prison for trafficking girls when there's no one that got trafficked girls to them? You can't have it both ways.
Well, and again, that's why I want the grand jury transcripts. You can redact the victims, you can redact the co-conspirators, you can redact any names you want, but I want to see what actually happened, whether or not there were other people that were involved in these. And I think there were. You know, I saw some people in the chat saying release the Epstein files as opposed to the grand jury transcripts. I believe the Epstein files are corrupted. It's been a decade. If we are to believe that Israel, the Mossad, MI6, the CIA, all of these intelligence apparatuses had their hands on Jeffrey Epstein, then you're absurd to think that these files have just been sitting safely on a server somewhere and nothing has been, manipulated in any form or fashion. The grand jury transcripts, those have been under seal. That's what I want to see. I want to see what was presented to be able to get an intelligence asset convicted that had a non-prosecution agreement, and you were able to somehow still get this Epstein himself and then Maxwell released on this, or excuse me, indicted on this and convicted for Maxwell. Epstein, it led to his demise, his death, or his witness protection. The DOJ memo, I think, was the thing that kicked all this off. And, I've said this on my show several times. There's three things that they said in there. They said the systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. Well, that's true. A client list is not in and of itself incriminating. Anybody that thinks that Jeffrey Epstein kept a list.
Exactly. It's not exactly. It's not like one list that says clients on the top of it. Of course.
And Bill Clinton did this, and this.
Right. No,
Donald Trump did this. So that is true. I think that's a true statement. The next thing they said is there's no credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of his actions. I don't think Epstein blackmailed anybody. I think whoever was handling Epstein, whoever was storing that information, is who was doing the blackmail. I don't think.
And who's that? Who do we think that is?
Well, I think it was the Mossad. I think they definitely were involved in this. I think the CIA. These handlers, these assets can go from one agency to the next, like, of course, just blow with the wind.
They can be both. They share assets. You're talking about these. They work together. It's the Mossad, it's MI6, and it's CIA, and they all share little assets.
Whatever they are hiding, whatever it is. And for those of you who want to know definitively who's been on that island, the worst billionaire of them all, Bill Gates, has been on that island. It is pretty much well known at this point. So much so that that's what his wife essentially says is the reason that they got divorced. I'm sure there's more to it than just that. And never forget that clip when Bill Gates was questioned about Epstein, and he very grinningly said, yeah, well, you're not going to be hearing from him no more. This is why when we say that this is even above Trump's pay grade, it is, because there are people that probably have told Trump, you let this out, you're a dead man. It's that simple. And so this is Dan Bongino, who I'm sure you've read this from earlier today, but this is what he had to say. During my tenure here as the deputy director of the FBI, I have repeatedly relayed to you that things are happening that might not be immediately visible, but they are happening. The director and I are committed to stomping out public corruption and the political weaponization of both law enforcement and intelligence operations. It is a priority for us. But what I have learned in the course of our properly predicated and necessary investigations into these aforementioned matters has shocked me down to my core. We cannot run a republic like this. I will never be the same after learning what I've learned. We are going to conduct these righteous and proper investigations by the book and in accordance with the law. We are going to get the answers we all deserve. As with any investigation, I cannot predict where it will land, but I can promise you an honest and dignified effort at truth. Not my truth or your truth, but the truth. God bless America. Okay. He, of course, doesn't want to say what he's referencing, but I think we all know what he's talking about. He clearly knows stuff that he's had to keep his mouth shut about. What that is, I can't say. People can only surmise what it is. But, Jen and I have been talking about a lot how the country is going through a transition of sorts. Like, this is the dawning of a new era in a lot of ways, where you're not going to put the cat back in the bag. Like, Israel is eventually, two things are going to happen. One, the Israel lobby is no longer going to control our government. And number two, the state of Israel may actually dissolve. because of what they've done with this genocide, but also exposing how much systemic control they have over our daily lives domestically and on foreign policy. And that's got to change. They're not going to sweep that under the rug. They are not just going to put everybody back to bed and just think that things are going to go on as usual. Like, that's dead. And I also believe that the complete systemic control, the corruption, if you will, much as we saw earlier with what happened at Blackstone, there is systemic change that's going to happen. It has to happen. If it doesn't happen, our republic is going to cease to exist. You have federal legislators trading on inside information every single day. Why should people pay their taxes?
You know, it's funny.
Like, why should? Well, I know I'm speaking to a libertarian. Of course, you want.
Yeah, why? Tell us why, Brian.
My boss over at Badlands has a few congressmen on, you know, on his daily show that he does at 1 p.m. And he often every single one that comes on, he asks them, why should we pay taxes? Why are the people paying taxes when, you know, we see the waste, fraud, and abuse that was exposed under Doge? You know, we see USAID getting $46 billion a year and sending all of it over there to manipulate color revolutions and orchestrate, you know, coups in other countries. Why are we paying for all this? Why are we paying for Social Security when you've got 450 million names on that list? By the way, ties directly into our voter rolls. All right. Social Security database is what's used to back up our cross-reference our voter rolls when registrations are going through. You guys know elections are my big thing, which I don't think we have free and fair elections in this country.
No. Oh, God, no.
We do.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, well, I'm glad Democrats are finally starting to wake up to this.
Okay. You have to stop calling us Democrats.
The left.
I mean, I am officially not a Democrat, but they are not the left. Democrats are not leftists. Democrats are corporatists, and they are at best centrists. We don't actually have a functioning left in this country, not with any real power. We just don't. We don't have a labor party. We don't have a working class party. We don't have that in this country. So there is no left. There's corporatism and ownership and socialism for wealthy corporations and subsidies and all sorts of stuff that screw over the small people and small businesses. So, you know, I am not a Democrat, and I do not think we have a democracy or any semblance of it anymore. I think we are an oligarchy. And the fascism is getting more and more in our faces as far as like, you know, cracking down on our free speech and the different kinds of policing that we're seeing. And I think it's going to get worse before it gets better.
And I'm going to share two quick stories with you. Well, they're interconnected. But when Jen ran against Wasserman Schultz, there were two people in particular that stories really stood out. One was a union boss, and the other was a community organizer. And Debbie got her hooks into both of them and basically threatened their livelihoods. Said, you get out of line, I'll have your ass in a sling. And that's what they did. And that's what she did. And that's how she has maintained her dominance through force. Nobody really likes her. Yeah, there's some of the old Jewish biddies that still like her, I'm sure. But in terms of the consensus, like, do people really like her? No, not at all. And people know she's a bitch on wheels. Anyone who's ever had to deal with her. But in the end, she's just a reflection of how bad things are in this system. If you are not good at your job, you should lose it. But we all know Democrats, corporate Democrats, don't believe in that concept, which is why Nancy Pelosi's going to stay there until she can't breathe anymore. But it's the truth. Because in the Republican Party at least evolves. They get younger. They get new blood. The Democratic Party has a couple of new blood people, but the average age between the two parties is off by almost 20 years. That's how much older the Democrats are than the Republicans. If that don't scare you, I don't know what will.
Because there's nobody new is joining them.
That's also true.
They're going to be gone. I don't think they'll win another national seat.
Brian, in spite of everything that you say, and I respect you for your position, and because you're a very honest operator. You're not doing this to try to gain clout from that perspective. But with everything going against Trump right now, and the Republicans are still out fundraising the Democrats by 5.5-fold, like, How much more dead can a party possibly be?
Well, you know why that is, right? They've shut down the Act Blue money laundering scheme. They haven't shut down the Win Red laundering scheme, which I speak out about all the time. If you go look on Gateway Pundit and you look up any article I've ever written about Act Blue, I also call out Win Red every single time.
What has happened to Act Blue?
Smurfing. Oh my goodness, you've never seen this?
So
Act Blue was going in and laundering billions of dollars through small donor donations that had no idea they were doing it. If you go and look on the FE, my neighbor 4 houses down donated over 850 times to Act Blue. He's in a wheelchair. He's 75 years old, 80 years old, in a wheelchair. He can't rub 2 nickels together, but he's donated 850 times and several tens of thousands of dollars to Act Blue. And what they found they were doing, and this is something that I've written about for several years now, money goes overseas. You know, our taxpayer money goes overseas and then is laundered back into a portion of it is laundered back into the United States through NGOs, non-governmental organizations, nonprofits. And then it is put out there and distributed through Act Blue and Win Red. Now, to be fair, it is about 80% Act Blue, 20% Win Red. They're not split down the middle. But there is massive amounts of money laundering that's going down through these organizations. President Trump put out an executive order. He called them straw donors in that. We call them Smurfs. He called them straw donors, saying we need to cut down on these. Act Blue was not requiring the CVV number on the back of the credit cards, you know, when you go to make a donation. And so they weren't requiring that. And so these people were just buying gift cards, you know, and this is all automated. It's not like they go out and buy a gift card and they're doing it manually. This is all a script that does all this automatically. And you have people that were laundering hundreds of thousands of dollars through donors that are unsuspecting, because every donor that they were using is a retired individual, unemployed or retired over the age of 70. They have no idea how to use the FEC website. They have no idea to go and check their political contributions, and they're doing it in such small donations. They're not robbing the people of the money. They're stealing their identity in order to launder money into campaigns.
Yeah.
And Act Blue got nailed on this. They're leaving Act Blue in mass. I think the top 7 executives all resigned. The only person left is they have one attorney left in their general counsel office, and it sounds like he's a whistleblower based on the reporting I've been reading from James Comer and some of the interviews that they've done. It sounds like he's a whistleblower, but nobody's looking into Win Red, and that's a massive problem. And this, you know, Jen, I talk about this all the time when I do events and stuff. This is something that would open up the door for the grassroots, and everybody bipartisan needs to get on board with this, that it's Act Blue and Win Red, because we can't compete. If I wanted to run for office, or if you wanted to run for office, you can't run against the Act Blue machine that's propping up candidates like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, like Ossoff. Warnock.
Oh no, and not only that, but if you run within that party, you have to use that.
Right.
That's the problem more than anything else. And I know
we provided an alternative method because I recognize that people do not like Act Blue, and I don't like Act Blue. I do not like them at all. And I'm glad you know what? I'm pleased to hear what you're saying, and hopefully that gets dealt with, because
and for anybody,
they suck.
Yeah, and for anybody in the chat who is disputing this, let's just say that Brian is wrong about his take. Here's what I know is indisputable, and you can look this up because this has been verified. Act Blue, which takes a tax, and they ask you for another one when you donate. They donated back in 2015, 2016, $75,000 to Nancy Pelosi. The only reason why you would give money to a super rich power broker like Nancy Pelosi is so that you continue to get the money funneled through your organization. That is it. There is nothing more to it than that. That is legalized, which it shouldn't be, bribery. That's it. The idea that you can't use any other donation entity besides Act Blue or Win Red, that's criminal. We are not supposed to be a monopolistic society. We have laws written specifically for that reason.
But the parties, that's the point, is these are money laundering operations for the political parties.
Yes.
That's the whole point. So,
100%.
And what's so pathetic, what it says about the Dems is even more pathetic, because despite the fact that they're doing it at an infinitely higher rate, they still have so much less money than the Republicans. So it's like they're not even good at money laundering.
And this is what I would say about Trump. And I'll even go so far as to say, let's say that this is true. The problem that we have in this country is that when Trump does it, it's a problem. But when basically everybody else does it, we just want to pretend it's not really happening. And then we get divided on hyper-partisan lines. And that is the problem. If you're going to go after one, you got to go after everybody. It's like when the entire justice system went after Trump for 2 years, and that's all anybody wanted to talk about. And I'm thinking, just like Letitia James and the fact that she was involved with a real estate scam. And like people want to pretend that that stuff doesn't go on, that Trump is it's all Trump. If we just got rid of Trump, everything will be fine. And I'm thinking, you just don't like Trump because he's really good at this. He's really good at it. I admit it. He's really great at it. Really great job. But we have to stop thinking that if we just get Trump out of there, that's going to change the scenario. It's not. Brian, you've got people out there saying, man, if we just got rid of Trump and we had to deal with J.D. Vance. Oh, you mean Peter Thiel's puppet?
Yeah, right.
Does it just get easier then? Oh, that is exactly what they want you to do. Peter Thiel and Alex Karp want to be as close to controlling this country as you could possibly get, and they would facilitate Trump's impeachment if they could get away with it. That's what I wish more people would understand. I'm not here to sell Trump. I'm here to remind you all that it's not what you think it is. It's the people that you can't see. It's when Tim Dillon comes out and says, you know, Peter Thiel's been trying to get me over to his place constantly because we all know why. It's the thing with Diddy. It's everything. It's this cesspool of corruption that is our system. It's so bad. It's like, you know that there's a Roach Motel underneath the floorboards, but you don't want to see it. You're too scared to look at it. I'm not. Just show me what's there. I just want to know the truth. That's what matters to me. And I'd like to think, concluding this conversation, that that's what's most important to you as well.
100%. I don't know if you want to pull it up real quick. This is the one of the articles I wrote back in April after President Trump signed that memorandum about the straw donors. And I wrote this back in April 24th, actually. And you'll notice the one person I call out in here is right here, where I call out, excuse me, not right there, right there, right here. Here's my tweet on it. You can see my actual tweet.
Yeah.
Perhaps the reason Republicans are shuffling their feet on Act Blue is because they know they're next. WinRed is doing the same thing, albeit on a much smaller scale, 85-15. Peter Berger and his team discovered this laundering of U.S. taxpayer dollars destined for overseas pork that ends up back in campaign coffers. And he actually calls out Ted Cruz directly on a podcast that we had done together there. So if you guys want to check that out, I'll send you some of the stuff on it. You know, I don't give a shit about partisanship when it comes to our elections and you know, the will of the people. If we are a conservative nation, let it be. If we're a liberal nation, let it be. Whatever the case may be. But we're not there. We don't have free and fair elections. We don't have free and fair campaigns. The money gets laundered back to the establishment, neocons and neoliberals that they want to keep propping up this damn system. And until we break that system entirely, and it's going to take populist leftists and populist righties to do this. It's going to take people like you and me having these types of conversations.
Amen.
Agreed.
Brian, always a pleasure. Keep fighting the good fight. Let's definitely have another conversation soon. We got to come on your show at some point, man.
Anytime, man. I don't do much on my own podcast anymore. I'm mainly over at Badlands Media now. I do like 5 shows. Well, I do 5 different shows, like 9 shows a week over there. So,
okay. Do we have all that? Let's make sure we get all of that information in our description and our stuff. Badlands Media.
I'm not sure. I mean, most of my colleagues over there are defected, defected leftists, defected Democrats, defected,
sure,
on that side. And, you'd probably find some common ground. We're generally populists over there.
Yeah, I find common ground with all sorts of people. People in our chat always get their panties in a bunch because they hear things that we don't like and don't agree with. And that's okay. We don't have to agree on everything. We agree on major issues, like we don't want to be spending our resources killing people overseas in things that are not in our interest. And if we can stop killing people, that's a start for me. Like I think that would be a good first start, is to stop killing people.
Yep.
Amen.
And the sad truth is that the only way we're going to end this war economy is if those that have served in war are leading the efforts to end these wars.
Yes.
Thank you as always for your service, brother, and always great to see you.
Thanks,
care,
Brian.
guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Anytime.
I mean, I see all our people in the chat not liking certain things and certain stuff that is, and look, we don't agree on a lot of things, and that's okay. That's okay. We don't have to agree on everything.
But that is the beauty.
Yeah.
But that is the beauty of our channel. And that is why I am going to have to ask you guys, since we haven't gotten a single contribution the entire evening, if you are so inclined, please, and we've been well over 200 live viewers. So for a Monday night, that's actually really good, because this is the weakest of our 3 nights. So the fact that you guys have enjoyed this conversation says a lot to both of us. But if you could, please go over to patreon.com/revolutionary change for as little as $5 a month. You could become a supporter of our small but mighty and growing channel. And so any contributions that you can make obviously would be tremendously appreciated. Of course, if you are so inclined, you can also go to Cash App, which I believe
we have our Cash App.
So what is the Cash App now?
Revolutionary Change Now. I'm going to make sure that it went through.
$?
Yes, that's always the Cash App thing. Hold on a second. But yeah, I changed it.
Okay. So I think this is right.
Yeah, we are. No, just Revolutionary Change.
Okay.
Not now.
Take
Just
that
Revolutionary Change. Cash App, Revolutionary Change.
Equals. Okay, so just Revolutionary Change.
Yes.
Okay. We will probably have more to say on Thursday regarding the shooting. I'm sure more information will come out.
Yes.
But I am of the mind that this shooting is very likely another Mangione monetary theory type of situation.
I just don't want to. I don't.
Blackstone.
No, I understand that it's clearly an anti-empire stance and an anti-corporatist stance. And I do appreciate that sentiment, but it is a very different thing. And I actually do not like the idea of anything having to do with Mangione's case getting somehow intertwined and enmeshed with whatever this is, because it is not the same. Luigi Mangione did not walk into United Healthcare office and start shooting people. It is very, very different. And
hey, listen,
I don't think they're the same.
Jen, for all we know, he is somebody who planned this out very carefully. And the place that he went to on the 33rd floor may very well have been a top shareholders meeting that was going on. That's not out of the realm of possibility.
Okay. We need to know a lot more before I will make that determination. But it sounds like random shooting in a space.
There's no way that a random shooter is going to end up in Blackstone's headquarters and start doing that.
We saw him walk in the front door holding a rifle.
I know, but what I'm saying is that there's no way it was a random decision to go into Blackstone. He knew what he was going.
Of course. I'm not saying that it doesn't have anti-corporatist sentiment. It does. I get it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the same concept as somebody really going after someone who is committing violence.
Sure,
and
I
so
agree with that.
I don't know the story. Brian Thompson was violent and committed violence on a regular basis in his life. Somebody like Luigi Mangione stood up to somebody who was committing violence and stopped him with violence.
But
I don't know.
But here's the thing, and this is where it's very important that we're crystal clear about this. The two biggest crises that we have in the United States today, I think most people would agree, is healthcare and cost of living, aka housing affordability, dwelling affordability. And United Health was at the forefront of that issue. And guess what? Blackstone is at the forefront of housing.
Of course. Again, I understand all of these things. I still think it's very suspect that we saw some guy walking into that secure of a building holding a rifle and apparently made it all the way to the 33rd floor. Like, I find all of that very strange.
And so here's a little something. And also big shout out to our favorite gal, Teresa, gifting 5 Revolutionary Change memberships. Thank you so very, very much. And it's always great to have you here. At least somebody loves us.
Yeah, we got to change it, Colin. I don't know if we can change it, but there's got to be a way.
And so Anton was asking, what is the difference between BlackRock and Blackstone?
Well, they're different. They're different corporations. Yeah. They are not the same corporation, but they're intertwined. One invests in the other and vice versa. They're intertwined, but I don't know exactly.
Best thing I could tell you guys is that when you're dealing with Blackstone, you are dealing primarily with a real estate entity conglomerate. That's where a lot of Blackstone's business is done. Now, BlackRock does the same, but one is a... But wouldn't they rock stone?
It's the same. No, they are different. Actually, you know who really understand this very well is my big. He actually understands all of this very well.
Leave it to one of our favorites that also happens to live pretty close to where the shooting took place. Blackstone is the largest corporate landlord in the country. And that is a fact. Period.
It also terrifies me about the mobile home communities.
Sure. Oh, yeah. They own a shitload of that stuff, too.
Because you're now talking about the one area that lower income people had already been sort of forced into in a lot of cases in terms of being able to own anything has been the mobile home community. So now you have them completely, owned out to BlackRock as well.
Thank you, Sean. Always great to see you, pal. People are going to continue getting restless. And they're going to get more violent. And that's what's going to happen.
I spoke to a fake person for the first time ever today, and it was very strange. I don't know if other people have had this experience yet, where you talk to.
It's happening to me with my business. I'm getting a lot of that shit.
Okay, well, no, this isn't like a recording that called me. This was even weirder. So I had to call up and my pest control service and request a service because I started noticing these wasps. So I called up and a person, or it sounded like, said, "Hi, this is Lena. How can I help you?" And so I started talking. It wasn't a real person. It wasn't a real person. And I went into a whole thing. I'm like, well, we're having wasps outside the upstairs and the mud daubers. And I went into a whole thing and she recorded it. And then she sort of read it back to me, which is when I started realizing it wasn't a real person. Because then after everything she said, is there anything else I can do? Is there anything else I can help you with? Yep. And it was literally not a real person. And I've never had anything like that before where it was like a conversation, but she wasn't real. It was weird.
Yeah, then it gets scary because you really can't tell.
I don't like it at all. I was able to tell fairly shortly into the conversation that she was not real, but it's still creepy. And also when it comes to anything having to do with content creators, if I don't know for sure that somebody is an actual real person that I know is a real person, I don't want to follow anything. I'm not going to follow it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear AI's opinion about it. I don't want to hear Chat GPT. I don't want any of that. I don't want it anywhere near me. Not at all.
I don't blame you.
I just had a whole conversation with a not real person, and I don't like that.
Leave it to TA, one of our top supporters. Great to see you, sir. BlackRock Asset Management, mostly passive index funds, ETFs, public markets. Blackstone, private equity, active ownership, alternatives, real estate, private markets.
Okay.
That is a very good description of the difference.
Both bad.
Both bad. But nonetheless, when you allow monopolies to seize control of our government, this is what happens. This is why we talk about corporate special interests. Stop saying it's the fucking Republicans. That's not the answer. They're bad. They may even be worse than Democrats, but that's not the point. The point is you're still eating shit no matter what. How big of a shit sandwich do you want? Until we, the people, come together. When the American people stand together, there is nothing we cannot accomplish. That's the old Bernie. That's the Bernie that we needed.
I don't think it was ever real, but anywho.
Certainly more real than AOC.
He has a much more substantial track record and history of fighting the good fight, you know, for sure.
Brandon, AOC has already messed up, and she's not going to get it back.
And the problem is, and even more importantly, is she doesn't, it's not like she thinks she's messed up and she's trying to rectify the situation. She doesn't see it. She doesn't see it because she's not a revolutionary and she never was. She doesn't see it because she's enjoying her privilege and her status, and she doesn't care to see it. And so no, she's never coming back because she never was.
And make no mistake, and this is something we've pointed out, it's not just the Iron Dome vote from 2019. It's also the Force the Vote from 2020, where everybody was on board, and even people that didn't agree with Jimmy. But then Alex decides to throw a message out there to Sam Cedar and a whole bunch of other people, and then they run away and say, no, we can't do this, because Alex is not going to take any chances because she's a coward.
She's not part of the solution. I know that.
It doesn't mean that she's evil.
No.
And that she wants people to get hurt.
No, I think she's self-serving. I think she's inexperienced and naive. I think she's immature. And I think that at the end of the day, she's serving herself. That's all that it is. And, you know, that is not somebody to get behind. Oh, you're looking good, Debbie. You're looking good.
Demon Seed. Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things that we ask you to do. We will have a wonderful guest for you on Thursday. We have a couple of options. We're going to get our schedule straight. We will have our call-in show on Saturday, and we'll have some more wonderful guests coming as we go forward. Again, smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things we ask you to do. Drop a comment after our live stream is over. We love you all. We'll see you Thursday, and
Free Palestine.
good night, guys.